right, now you want to say hi to everyone now that we're starting?
Hi, everyone.
So here we are, ready to discuss things about certain topics. Most notably, there's this movie that just came out, and in Europe, of course, it's been out for over a week now. And that movie is naturally referred to as X-Men. Can you say X-Men?
Next year.
Whoop. Oh my goodness. And Mega Man is texting me, apparently.
Why is Mega Man texting you?
I don't know. Why is Mega Man texting me? Come here, kiddo.
I don't know.
Ah.
What is that?
What is what?
What's that?
I don't know. What is it?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. Well, we appear to be live. So, oh goodness, careful.
I want to be on your other leg.
Okay, you can shift legs. There you go. My giant legs. What are you doing? What are you looking for? Oh, so, hang on. I want you to do me a big favor, okay?
What?
Can you say, for the Empire?
No.
For the Empire.
No.
For the Empire.
Bat. I said bat.
For the bat. Say hi, Samurai.
Goodbye, Samurai.
Say hi, Bowman.
Goodbye, Boomin.
Say hello, space.
Hello, space.
There you go. All right, here. I'm going to give you something to watch while we do this. Does that sound good?
What?
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I have an idea for what you could watch. Do you want to get comfortable in Uncle Max's bed?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have something here. I'm going to turn it down a little bit.
Now I want to watch this.
Okay, we'll allow that. Hang on. I'm pulling it up.
Here I am in the middle of nowhere with my customer, and I turn around.
All right, come here, kiddo.
I want to watch the gummy snack video.
Okay.
Hey, I want to lay down. I want to sit down.
That's it. Do you want the blanket?
No.
Okay, here you go. Now, if you need something, let me know, okay? I'm kind of waiting for people to show up a little bit more. I guess nobody wants to talk about X-Men, which is a darn shame. If I want to do a rumination or a discussion or just, me telling you my thoughts on X-Men, that's easy. I can do that in a pre-recorded. But that's not the point of this, because I actually had an idea to do things a little bit differently this time around. I was thinking rather than just being like, I could open the floor before we actually start, before I give any of my thoughts in a vacuum and say, what did you guys think? Is there anything you wanted to share about the movie? Is there anything you liked? Is there anything you disliked? Are there any questions you have of me about the film? For example, my sister, who obviously watched it with me, didn't know several things about it, most notably the name Nathaniel Essex, which I had to explain in some detail for her. And so, I thought I'd open the floor for you guys first, and then try to get a little more discussion side of things going, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I will not even say if I liked the movie. I will say that every single review I've seen has been bad. Every single review, and I mean all of them, have been like, this is a terrible film. In fact, if I could quote one, let me just pull it up. This is great. You're gonna love this. As we know, I don't really put a lot of stock into movie reviews, because movie critics, I should say, because no movie critics can go screw themselves. However, where's that quote? It was pretty recent. Oh my goodness. Ugh. Sorry, itch. You ever have an itch inside your nose? What I usually do to get rid of itches inside my nose is I grab my nose hairs and pull them out. If you ever wonder why I do that maneuver occasionally on my show, that's actually what I'm doing. I'm not boogering or anything like that. Of course you are, Tigzar. Why wouldn't you be allowed to be in here? Why would I not do that? I mean, my goodness. No, but this is the worst superhero movie ever made. Samurai. I mean, obviously. I mean, come on. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Darn it. I can't find the exact quote. It was something really derogatory. It was basically something along the lines of, the new X-Men Apocalypse movie is just not good. And then it was like, and it's terrible, and it's awful, and I hate it. and just absolutely bashing it as if it was one of the worst movies made in recent history. I'm serious. Every time I hear that sentence, by the way, because I've heard it twice this year. That's not a joke. I've heard it twice with regards to Batman vs. Superman and with regards to X-Men Apocalypse. And both times they say, worst superhero movie ever. I just think, you know... And I mentioned that to my friends who I was going with, and several of them were pointing out, you know... And we made a game of it to think of all the bad superhero movies. Not even just the worst ones. You know, not even going into the absolute dreck of the, you know, the 70s Captain America or Catwoman or anything like that. No, just trying to think of bad movies and superhero movies, and we just kept thinking, oh, here it is, the movie is not good. Some people hoped after months of hype that it would, yeah, and blah blah blah, and just so I spit all over that interview or that review. But yeah, I was right. It was literally just like, the movie is not good. So let me go ahead and scroll out here because I feel like I missed some chat while I was yammering there. So Baronessa liked it. The first Wolverine, the second Wolverine. Oh God, Batman and Robin. We didn't think about that one for a while. Now, I would like to go ahead and say, before, so I haven't really heard a lot of people giving their thoughts. Other than Baronessa, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Baronessa. Oh, here, I'll fix it for you, okay? I fix it. Fixed. Yeah, I'm gonna close this so we stop polluting the rest of the house with our mothballs. So, yeah, it was, well, we were thinking of much worse movies first, Samurai. There are much worse superhero movies than Batman and Robin. We talked about Spider-Man 3 a lot, too. Anyways. Okay. Are they crinkly? Okay. So, hello, Fuke. Why would we object to you being here? Yeah, so, yeah, we brought up Fantastic Four again, and it's funny because my friend Third was like, yeah, I brought that one up immediately, Nicholas, because I've actually seen the old Captain America. Both of them, actually. So, Third brought up Fantastic Four, and my immediate response was, yes, Fantastic Four was worse, and so was Fantastic Four. And so was Fantastic Four, because they've made 3 of them, and they're all bad. Although only one of them was terrible. The other 2 were just atrocious. Anyways, Spider-Man 3. I will even speak in defense of certain aspects of Spider-Man 3. I feel there are some things Spider-Man 3 did that were genuinely good. Sandman. Just basically everything about him. His presentation, the actor, a lot of the scenes with him. There's a lot of genuine character moments and genuine humanity in Sandman. That was good. Let's see, was there anything else positive about that movie? Actually, I do have one other positive thing to speak about with regards to Spider-Man 3. And you're all going to laugh at me for this. You ready for this? The scene where he thinks he's cool and he's walking down the street and he's like, yeah. And I know you're going to look at me bizarre and think, why do you like that scene? Because that scene was exactly what it should have been. That scene was Peter Parker thinking he's cool and acting like someone who, yeah, what Samurai just said, thinking this is how cool people act now that he had the symbiote. And of course, it's Peter Parker, and he has no idea how to actually be cool, so he's just being a complete dork, and it's awesome. Anyways, so why don't we talk about something else before? So, before we get into Apocalypse proper, there is a topic I want to talk about. It's something I've talked about many, many times, but I haven't discussed it in significance lately. It's called pendulum theory. It's something, I named it. I came up with the term pendulum theory. The idea here is the pendulum, as it swings one way, the weight of it being swung one way will push it the other way, right? Pendulum theory, in a nutshell, means if I like something, just like average like if we were to take everything in a vacuum and say, I like Spider-Man 2. This is just a making of an example because I actually loved Spider-Man 2. I thought it was a great film. But if I liked Spider-Man 2, then if I hear lots of other people saying negative things about Spider-Man 2, I will be more inclined to be positive towards Spider-Man 2. My opinion of it will actually go up because of all the negativity I'm being approached on. It's that swing back. It's the same in the reverse too. Undertale has been hugely a victim of pendulum theory in the last year because Undertale, in my opinion, is a great game, but so many people are so universally positive about it that people will react negatively to it more than they otherwise would because of pendulum theory. It swings. Make sense? So, and we see this all over the place. And we're all victim. I'm just as much a victim as anyone. And I have to admit, there are several things in the last year, especially, that I have been more positive about than I normally would be because of pendulum theory. Because I look at something and I'm like, well, and my in a vacuum thought is basically, well, that's okay. And then people are like, oh, I hate it, 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 I hate it. And so I just get so sick of that negativity and I push back against it. And I become more positive about it than I otherwise should be. And I agree, by the way, the gentleman who played Doc Ock, who's an actor I don't see in many things, but every time I see him, he's amazing. He was perfect for Octavius. Anyways, point being that I have to freely admit to you guys that I walked into X-Men Apocalypse expecting to like it. And the reason why was because of pendulum theory, because everything I heard was universally negative. Not from you guys, actually. For the last week, because it's been out in Europe for a bit, several people in chat. Hang on just a second. What are you watching, kiddo?
I'm watching Spider-Man.
No. This is not okay. We don't watch this, okay?
I don't want to watch that.
No. This is The Lion, Gina. You want to watch something else? We can do that.
That's not live, it's YouTube.
Okay, we'll watch something else. How's that sound?
It's just YouTube. Spider-Man watching.
Yeah, there's no need for tears. Okay. Do you want to watch The Lipstick?
No.
Do you want to watch My Little Pony?
No.
Jane, are you already tired?
No.
Jane, I will not let you watch that anymore, okay? It's not acceptable for you. Do you understand?
It's just YouTube Spider-Man. I want to watch them.
Jane, shh, it's okay. Jane Adeline.
I want to watch something.
What do you want to watch? Other than Spider-Man. What do you want to watch, little one?
Oh, no.
Do you want a spanking?
No.
Of course you don't. So why don't we watch something else?
I don't want to watch. Oh, I want to watch.
You want to watch this one?
No.
Jana, I need to get to work, okay? So, you get to watch something I'm about to pull up, or you don't get to watch anything. Do you understand? Do you understand? Now, do you want to watch the lip balm maker?
No.
Do you want to watch anything on this page?
Oh, no.
Jana Adeline. You want to watch that?
No. This.
Okay. That's acceptable. Here you go. That really irritates me. The trending thing on YouTube tends to pull up things that are extremely unfriendly for children because, it happens to have Spider-Man in it or whatever. And so the next playing will go straight from something, like a kid's toy thing or whatever like that, or straight to something like that, which is unacceptable. Anyways, I'm sorry about the delay there. Thank you, Sonic. I was actually just thinking, where the hell did I leave off? Several people in chat have been telling me about the movie, and everyone's been positive about the movie in chat. Saying I liked it, and I'm not going to say anything else because you guys know the no men rule. But every review I read, every internet post I saw, every forum post I saw was all, again, universally negative. Just, oh, I hate it, and it's bad, and it's got bad pacing, and it's got bad characters, and it's got bad effects, and it's got bad everything, and just absolutely bashing it. So again, I walk into it, and I'm like, I am expecting to enjoy it because I'm a victim of Pendulum Theory. So I have to give you that warning right off the bat, because I feel like Pendulum Theory has influenced my opinion on the movie, having actually watched it. There's also one other thing that has influenced my enjoyment of the movie, and I want to actually show this to you, if that's okay. Not you, little one. You don't have to watch it. And I meant to get this ready in advance, and I've been spending the entire morning since about 6. Taking care of Jane. I'm very low on sleep right now. So apologies. Here we go. So I'm just gonna link you something, you guys in chat. So if you look at that, you can kind of see that that's the chair I was sitting in when I was watching the movie. Jenny, do you want down? Yes or no? If you want down, you can't watch YouTube anymore, okay?
I won't watch nothing.
Little one, you can watch YouTube in the bed. I can set up a chair for you if you'd like.
I like a chair.
You want a chair?
I want my chair. I want my piano chair. I want my high chair. Hi, Jaina. Oh, I want the chair on the floor.
Here you go. There you go, kiddo. Is that better? Okay. Point being, no, this is absolutely not a spoiler-free discussion. We are spoiling everything, all over the time, everywhere. Here's your first free spoiler. It's an X-Men movie. No, seriously though, as with all of my discussions, this is a billion trillion spoilers. So FYI. So yeah, they have a special theater. When I say a special theater, I mean a special one viewing, one screen, okay? And that one screen has those chairs that are on that link page I linked to you, and they have catering. They have a restaurant where they will bring, your order out to the thing. I don't know if it's really obvious from the picture there, but they actually also... Do I have Skype muted right now? I do, okay. They also have, obviously lots of armrests, but there's like this fold-over thing, which is great for me, because my preference for my arms to rest is in front of me. That's actually, if you've ever wondered why I tend to have a pillow in my lap half the time, it's because this is my preferred resting place for my arms. Not over here, but like this, right? So the fact that I had this table thing right in front of me that I could rest my arms on was great. So I could just sit like this, and it reclines back, and you can just sit back here and rest. So again, I have to be 100% honest with you guys. I probably enjoyed the movie a lot more than I otherwise would have because of the fact that I was in this amazing chair of comfortably awesome. I have to be honest about that, guys. Okay? I have to give you that. So Pendulum Theory and the very comfortable seats probably made me like the movie more than I otherwise would. You can probably already see where this is going, even though I haven't given my opinion yet. Hi, Finn. What's up, dude? I I thought about using it to take notes, but my sister has been getting really upset with me about taking notes in the middle of the movies at this point. So I'm afraid you're going to have to go with my memory on this one. And I was pretty tired when I watched the movie. So I'll do the best I can. Um, oh, that sucks, Nicholas. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's actually pretty awesome. And I hope you have fun with your parents for the next 3 months. We'll miss you here. So now that I've given those little things, let me go ahead and open up the floor to you guys, like I mentioned, before I really give any of my opinions on the matter. I still haven't given any of my opinions on the movie. Um, so, what do you guys think? Is there anything you want to share? Is there any thoughts you have? Is there any questions you have of me? Is there anything you wanted to discuss about the movie? Any concepts that really came out? I'm basically opening the forum, so to speak. If you could picture what a forum actually is, the big open area where lots of people can sit and discuss things, a real forum, as opposed to an internet forum. So you can be like, whoosh. So there's two things that make sense to me, Baronessa, with regards to that. One is so good it's bad, which I don't think is what you mean. And the other is guilty pleasure, if that makes sense. I actually did not get any catering because they didn't serve any food. It was all like snacky stuff. Well, I shouldn't say food. That's not what I mean. I was in the mood for meat, and they served like pizza and, um, pasta and stuff like that. And I wanted meat, so they didn't serve anything I wanted. And they served alcohol, and I don't drink. So, yeah.
I'm watching this video now.
Let me see it really quick, please. Okay. Thank you for showing me, little one. Um, the movie was the worst thing made after sleep. Thank you, Zoan. Yes, you've missed everything, Gnarlix. Why is that happening? Oh, I see why that's happening. Gosh darn it. I am so crammed in here. You guys can't tell it, but the camera's actually zoomed in like 5 points. And, yeah. So I'm kind of having some issues with the green screen. Okay, so, actually, yeah, what Death God Scythe is probably a good example. Mega Man X6 is a pretty bad Mega Man game. I still enjoy it. Part of why I enjoy it is because it is challenging. Part of why I enjoy it is because it's still a Mega Man game. So, despite the fact that I could call that probably one of the worst Mega Man games I've played, it's side-scroller, not counting the Battle Network games, I would still say I enjoy X6, so I'm with you on that one.
I sit on the chair this way.
You can do that, as long as you're comfortable. Okay, so I kind of get where you're going with that, Bowman. I completely disagree with you on that, but I totally understand that. My sister had the exact same complaint as you. She felt that they, or no, not sister, excuse me, Third had the same complaint about it. He felt that they were simply trying to do, or no, it wasn't Third. It was the other person. Sorry, God, I was really tired. Third agreed with me on the matter, and then the other person thought in the opposite direction. aka they were simply trying to do too much stuff, and Apocalypse, looked ridiculous and blah blah blah. So, I totally get the perspective on that one. They did try to do a lot of stories in a short time, and they definitely had an ensemble cast thing going on. I couldn't point to any individual who really felt like a main character in that, and I think that's a thing. Um, and my sister had other complaints with the movie. She felt that the pacing was pretty bad. She felt that it would have nothing happen and then action and then nothing happen and so forth. And I tried to get her to explain it more to me because I was confused by that. But I'll talk about that later. Again, I'm still not giving my opinion. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen. Of course, you've seen Third. You've seen that, and now he's got more beard going on than I do. Of course, I don't have a beard. I have a chin strap. Uh, I'm still keeping my own thoughts to myself. I want to let you guys talk. I want to have more of a discussion thing before I just start telling you my opinions and stuff, which is why I'm kind of keeping my mouth shut for now. I also found something interesting. I'll go ahead and give away one thing in my opinion. It's regarding what Revan said because two of the people we went. There were four of us that went. Two of the people who went, who do not have children, felt like a certain scene was terrible, and two of the people who went who do have children, which includes me, thought the scene was, really emotional, and we both actually cried at that scene. I found that interesting that that split was along that line there. How do I enjoy comic books? Well, admittedly, I kind of haven't really been watching or reading comic books in a while. I kind of let that fall off. Um, for me, Takoida, it's the same reason I can enjoy. Yes, Leander. It's the same reason I can enjoy television. It's the same reason I can enjoy movies and games and books. Now, I know you're looking at me weird, but let me explain what I mean by that. There is a gap, a chasm, if you will, in between good games, books, movies, television, comics, and bad games, books, movies, comics, television. And so for me, the difference between these two is colossal. And so the good comic books, and there are several comic books that are just flat out, holy crap, amazing. Um, that's what I enjoy. That's how I can enjoy comic books. Again, it's the same reason I can enjoy books, because they're terrible books. There are awful, inconsistent, badly written, badly designed books, and movies, and games, and television. So, that's my answer to you. Um, Let me permit you, Sean. Jason 3, because we have that there. There you go. Go ahead. Prot is the one. Easy answer. I'm always a tank at heart. Yeah, there are terrible Star Wars books. Crystal Star is my favorite example of that. Because most people tend to forget that one even exists. I mean, most people, when they think of terrible Star Wars, they look to the kids' novels or whatever. But I look to Crystal Star. Um, I feel like the writers were trying to go a little more Joss Whedon, and yes, there were four writers on this, four writing on the main writing staff. But I don't think the director was really pushing in that direction. I never got that impression, anyways. Exactly, Takoida. There's a reason I stopped following comics, so on. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure. I was gonna say. I bet several of you have actually read Crystal Star. Does anyone else have any thoughts? I'm just gonna start giving my opinion. Let me just start with the biggest thing I want to say about this movie, and this may be a controversial opinion. Okay. I feel like this is the first X-Men movie I've seen. Now I want to clarify that a little bit. I feel like this is the first movie I've ever seen where I actually felt like these were the mutants, the X-Men, the actual comics and mutants, and it felt more believable for me than it ever has. I actually felt like the way they were presented, both in the terms of their powers and the special effects, the way they acted, the way they functioned with each other, it felt the most X-Men. It felt the most mutant, if you will, of any of the movies I've seen thus far. That is not to say I haven't liked previous X-Men movies. In fact, I am very much a fan of X-Men 2, First Class, and Days of Future Past. But this one really made me think, oh, okay. It felt like an X-Men movie. And it's also funny because one of the things I also got a very strong impression throughout the whole movie was this is establishing X-Men canon. This is effectively the first X-Men movie. Think about it for a moment. So much of what they did was establishment. So much of they did was putting pieces on the board without really, um, without really finishing plot lines or character arcs so that they could be advanced in the future. A lot of this was setting up for an X-Men series. And if you pay attention, most of the primary actors are the ones who are the new ones. Most of the characters who got the most development are the new actors, who therefore are more likely, from a real-life money perspective, to be coming back for future movies. Also, God, I actually have a lot to say about. Oh no, we're doing Lorwyn later, Darker. Don't worry. I may take a nap first. I'm very tired. Oh,
Uncle Marcus, what do you have in your hand on your finger?
this is a nobody symbol, little one. You see it?
Why do you have it on your finger?
I'll take it off my finger just for you. Is that better? So, the words. It is interesting that this is actually the third movie in the X-Men in this continuity, because first was First Class, and then Days of Future Past, and then this one. Everything else, and I mean everything else, has been wiped clean from the board thanks to the time travel shenanigans on purpose. And I actually feel that was not only a good decision but well done. They actually did a uh, fairly well done presentation of that. Yeah, in case you haven't seen, this is what I'm referring to here. It's a keychain thing. Anywho, so that was my first thought about the mutant thing. I also love how a lot of the powers were presented, especially Magneto's. The way they showed the magnetic field in his power presentation was awesome, and I really liked that they finally showed his power like that. Um, this is also probably the first time. Excuse me, that's a lie. This is probably the third time in the history of ever that I feel Apocalypse's powers have actually been presented very well. Atomic
Watching a slime
restructuring.
video.
Okay, that's acceptable. Thank you for telling me. I like the atomic restructuring thing that he had was awesome. That is exactly right. That is exactly how Apocalypse should be doing. I'm with you, Roaring. Awesome. Happy Memorial Day. Um, and I love the fact that he could uplift other mutants, basically expand their existing powers. Again, exactly Apocalypse. I mean, that's freaking amazing. That's exactly how that should be. And of course, he had the random teleport and basically every single one of it's a stupid series that involves a lot of toys that are murdering each other, and there's lots of violence, and there's lots of blood, and there's lots of cussing, and there's lots of sex. That's what. Okay, Zalman, does that answer you? Um, uh, a little bit more than that, really, to Koida. He at one point in time he actually pulls the sand up and restructures the sand. Roaring, you need to leave. We're spoiling everything. This is a discussion. Spoilers are everywhere. Okay. He pulls the sand up and actually restructures it into metal to form a new helmet for Magneto. So again, the whole atomic restructuring. I don't know what else to call it. It was very, very awesome the way that was presented. I also liked the fact that he was presented as someone who could multitask, because that also makes perfect sense to me. Someone who has that range of discipline and skill.
Breaking up the kinds of sand.
Okay. To be able to do that was awesome. And the idea that he could literally be able to mentally fight Xavier while physically fighting Magneto was really cool, and I loved that. Um, Basically, what I'm trying to say is that this is one of my favorite presentations of Apocalypse, basically having ever, or basically ever. Now, that being said, he looked ridiculous, but they did something very subtle with him, and I'm curious if anyone else picked up on this. Uh, he's a hypocrite, and at the same time, he does firmly believe in his ideals, and he did genuinely care about mutants. He did genuinely feel that mutant kind was superior, and he did genuinely want to help uplift the strongest. But the thing is, the only ones he cared about were the strongest. If you failed, if you were too weak, he would abandon you in a heartbeat without a second thought, because that was his mentality. Again, his perspective was perfect in this one. The scene where he basically just dismisses Angel was great. I was like, ugh. And I loved that. And the scene where he's okay.
I got some now.
Um the Jaina, could you please stop? Please? You're making lots of noise. Thank you, Jenna. You don't have to pause it. No, you don't have to pause it. You can keep watching. I just don't want you to play with my shoes, okay? Um, and yeah, his whole idea, the thing that he wanted to do, hey Kemek, with Xavier's powers was absolutely terrifying. If he had successfully gotten Xavier's power, yes, it does, Kemek. If he had successfully gotten Xavier's power, that would have been the end of the world in basically every way that mattered. He would have absolutely turned the entire world into a state of total stagnation. His vainglorious self-worship was accurate and all over the place. One of the things that really struck me is when he had constructed that temple out of the, the random matter that he ripped out of the city. One of the biggest things he showed there was this giant freaking statue of himself. Because he is the En Sabah Nur, he is the greatest of all, blah, 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 blah. And again, that whole I want to be everywhere at once thing, the ability to just directly control everyone in the world, there is a level of megalomaniacal, just everything in that. That's just above and beyond what most villains ever even dream of. And I liked that. I also liked how, I'll talk about the hypocrisy thing in a moment. I also liked how, when he saw the full extent of Phoenix's power, he gave up. Now, don't mistake me for thinking that, my sister thought when I said that, that what I meant was that he had let them win. That they did not actually beat him. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that he stopped fighting back the moment he realized there was someone stronger than him. So in the end, he was actually adherent to his own philosophy. When he finally met another mutant who he felt was his equal or his better, he died at peace. Because now there's another mutant to guide mutant kind into the future. And I loved the way that was presented. I thought that was awesome. I feel like his body hopping ability was really well done. I actually find myself curious how much of his power, if like body hopping was his original power and nothing else. And if, or maybe like his original power was the atomic restructuring thing and he used that to gain body hopping or something. I don't know. I have no idea, Zoan. When we're done. So, I really like, however, the implication of his armor. So one thing they made a clear point of was that he needed his armor. He needed the mechanical augmentation that was built into him, right? Now, for those of you aware of the comics, one of the continuities has this whole storyline where he basically wasn't actually a mutant. He used the technology of the Celestials to make himself kind of an artificial mutant.
It's like I'm on that train.
Yes, little one, it is. And I don't know if that's, it's still continuity and whatever. See you around, Zoan. But the reason I bring it up is they did a very subtle thing where he was constantly required his armor. And when he finally lost his armor, his power immediately weakened. And they even made a point of ensuring to transfer his armor to his new body, all that stuff. So he was never without the celestial armor. Okay. They made sure to never show him, to show how he was constantly reliable on that armor. And I liked that, because if that's true, that makes him a gigantic hypocrite, which I really like the implication of. The idea that he is so derogatory he is so negative, he is so insulting towards mankind for using tools. How dare you? How dare you use spears? How dare you use guns and cars and nuclear weapons and all of these systems and all of these technologies that just make up for your own weakness? You're pathetic. And yet the implication there, at least this is what I pulled out of it, was the fact that he himself also needed those same tools to make himself the mutant that he was. Maybe not anymore, but certainly originally. That celestial armor was part of the reason why he was capable of doing all the things he was, just as reliant on tools as the people he claims to despise. That may be me reading too much into it, but I do very much like the implication. I feel the pieces are definitely there to be picked up for that one. Hello, Progressive. Shoutouts, dude. What's up? It has been a while. All right, now we're talking about X-Men with all the spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, spoilers beware. Um, I will say one negative thing about Apocalypse. He looked damn silly. And it's a shame because he didn't actually have... The actor they picked for Apocalypse is a pretty good actor. And they didn't really let him do much acting with his body or his face because of the makeup job and because of the suit he had to wear. So that's the negative I have to share. It felt like he was just a little bit, too limited because he literally was limited. The actor was. That being said, the voice was perfect. I really feel like the way he spoke and the things he did with his voice. I'm not just talking about the special effects. I mean, the way he presented his character through his voice was spot on. And he did a really good job of getting Apocalypse out in that tone, at least in my opinion. Yeah, Leander, I caught that too. I really like that we basically see the... What do you mean, Bowman? I mean, yeah, he was battling in the astral plane, which was cool. You can't strike God. So we've just talked about Apocalypse, so let's talk about everything else too. So if I haven't made it clear yet, I loved the movie. I thought it was great. It's my favorite X-Men movie to date. It is worth noting, I would only put it a couple of inches ahead of Days of Future Past and First Class. But I still personally really very, very much enjoyed it. See you around, Sean. Very much enjoyed the movie. And I felt like they did the ensemble cast well. I liked the fact that there was no main character. I liked the fact that there were basically 4 major plots that were all kind of going together. And I liked the fact that all the 4 plots actually interwove fairly well. The Apocalypse plot, the New Mutants plot, the foundation of the X-Men plot, and the much more personal character plots that had to do with Xavier and Magneto, all pretty interwove rather smoothly, and that's one of the things I liked about it. I loved Batman vs. Superman, not as much, but I still put it in a very much like. I felt like they got a surprisingly good actor for Scott, for Cyclops, and I didn't dislike the woman who played Jean Grey, but I can't say that, I can't really call her many positives. She would be a neutral for me. I liked the woman who played Storm quite a bit. I also liked the presentation of her quite a bit, too. I know this is weird. Nobody I've heard has agreed with me on this one. I actually very much liked Angel. Now, he wasn't... Now, let's go ahead and list one of my other negatives before I move on, because this is related specifically to Angel. I feel like several characters were underused. In some cases, it was obvious why they were being underused, specifically because of the fact that they were just introducing them and establishing them a little bit, and then they'll be in the future. Psylocke is a great example of someone who will absolutely be coming out back in the future to play Psylocke again, and then maybe she'll have a little more screen time and a little more relevance. By contrast, Angel got only a few scenes, but I feel like they were very well done in those scenes. First, what's the first thing we see of Angel? He's just, yeah, just winning every fight and on top of it and enjoying the thing, and you get the kind of Wolverine parallels there. And then Nightcrawler goes in there and refuses to fight him. And this is the brilliant part, he has one line. Angel has one line where he says, I forget how he phrased it, but he says, if we don't fight, they will kill us both. The way he said that had the perfect mix of frustration and fear and desperate despair of the matter. Like, he had just so completely resigned himself to this fate, and yet he still hated it, and he still hated himself for doing it. It was a great line, and it really got across so much characterization in that one line, and that was awesome. And then later on, him just guzzling the booze because he's lost the one thing that made him special, and also the one thing he had been hated and feared for. There's so much implication in that I feel that Angel was still very good, even though he didn't have a lot of screen time. And yes, Angel becomes Archangel in the film. He gets the metal wings, and it's awesome and gruesome. To be completely blunt, Sonic Doctor, yes. I think that a lot of the reviews, and this is true for other movies in addition to this one, don't do what I do. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant, but it's true, in my opinion. Most reviewers don't actually try to analyze, they just try to go with their gut feeling. Is it good? Did I like it? And of course, I've also talked about how I feel reviews try to artificially be negative, especially if another reviewer be negative. Yes, it is, little one. So, I personally, yeah, I know, Revan. It was horrifying, wasn't it? So I really, really liked that. They did a lot with visual storytelling in this film too. One of my favorites is, of course, let's go talk about the Weapon X scene. So Wolverine gets out and he just starts killing everyone in his path in a berserker rage. Great scene in my opinion. Again, clearly establishing for the future. We already know for a fact they are making a new Wolverine movie, and it's gonna have Essex in it. Cough, cough. Anyways, first of all, several things I liked about the Weapon X scene. First of all, Stryker's performance actually was pretty good. He was constantly the whole. He was constantly like that sort of. He was still clearly a bigot, but he wasn't cartoonishly evil. Jaina Adeline, did you drop my phone? Did you drop my phone?
At least it didn't fall apart.
That's true. It didn't.
Why?
Because you didn't drop it a long way. Now, we need to not drop the phone because we don't want to break it, do we?
No.
Exactly. So, what we're going to do is we're going to scooch you like this so that if it drops, it'll drop on the box instead of the floor, okay? But you still need to hold on to it tight and not let go, okay? Grab it. There you go. Good girl. So Stryker was actually putting the pieces together in a way that made perfect sense. I mean, if you ignore the fact that Apocalypse exists, then in all honesty, everything Stryker said was logical. I mean, this massive message goes out from the Xavier Mansion, and we know the world's most powerful psychic lives there. I mean, God's sakes, and him trying to get to the bottom of it, I liked that. I also like the fact that the moment Wolverine got out, the actor playing Stryker did a great job of portraying absolute pants-crapping terror. He was clearly afraid, and then after a bit, it takes him several seconds of just watching Wolverine massacring his men before he finally got enough of himself gathered to say, "I'll be right back." And then he runs. I mean, he doesn't literally run, but he flees for his life. And I loved that. So that was good. I like the fact, as Chat mentioned earlier, that there was basically no humanity in Wolverine's portrayal. As Leander was the one who said that. He was just a rabid dog, killing whoever happened to be in his path until Jean managed to get into his head and try to connect with Logan rather than Wolverine. Again, as I mentioned, the visual storytelling thing, I loved the fact that he had that gear, that machinery in him. We don't know exactly what it's doing, but we know it was screwing him up. And we also know that they've been using a sort of crude electronic-based technology in order to affect mutants. We saw that in the field that prevented their brains from working right? So, no, it's the same guy. It's still Hugh Jackman. It will always be Hugh Jackman.
This is something good.
Okay.
Or maybe.
Can I see it real quick? Hold it up a bit. Hold it up a bit. Okay. No, that's good. That's good. Thank you, Jana.
I'm gonna try to write things.
Okay. So, hey, War Wager. So he had that electronic junk, which was exactly the mind control thing. That's exactly what I was going with that. And they never say it. This is why I mentioned the good visual storytelling. There's a lot of good visual storytelling in this. They never actually say that he's, being mind controlled and all that. You just look at that, and even if you don't know about the XCOM story, or not the XCOM, the Weapon X storyline.
Sit like this.
Okay. Even if you don't know about the Weapon X comics or that storyline, it's pretty obvious what's going on. My sister, who knew nothing about Weapon X, was like, "How are they controlling him like that? And what is that tech?" And because it was well presented. That's my point. Also, the fact that the thing was just kind of in him really demonstrates the total lack of any kind of caring or anything. Just the negligent way, they would just look down at Logan and basically looking at him as if he's not a person, you know. Um, uh, okay, so Apocalypse was basically immune to Xavier's telepathy. The only way that Xavier was able to do anything with him was because Apocalypse more or less literally had already partially fused his soul, or whatever you want to call it, with him. AKA, he actually had the ability to connect into his mind. Sense make? He was given a tunnel, in other words. Um, and yeah, I know about the Shadow King. I actually never liked the Shadow King personally, if I'm being 100% honest. But you're right, the Shadow King was always the astral plane thing. And you're right, they showed Apocalypse's giant growing thing. And for those of you who know where Apocalypse's giant growing thing was a normal power of his that he used several times. And that was absolutely misleading with the trailer. I agree with you. It just wasn't a negative for me. And yeah, they kept him in a freaking cage with like no anything other than tiny little slits, and that was it. God, the way they treated Newell. So that's my thoughts on the Weapon X thing. I've been kind of building up to this, but I don't want to forget about it, and I really want to cover it. The every single time Quicksilver was on screen was gold. That was probably one of the best scenes in the entire film, when the mansion was exploding and Quicksilver saves almost everyone in the entire mansion. That was awesome. It was well presented visually. The special effects were spot on. The actual directing style of it was amazing. The presentation of the musical choice was perfect. Just I have nothing but praise for the Quicksilver scenes. There are actually two major ones, but that's the big one. Every time Quicksilver was demonstrating what he could do, it was like, oh, yes, that was amazingly awesome, and I really really liked it. But especially the fact that he was showing off as he was saving everyone in the mansion, which is very Quicksilver. And he's like, all right, let me set up this, and I set up this, and set up this. And then, all the events actually finally happen, and everything he set into motion, with the catching and some of the people going into the water and all that, was like, yep. Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. I also, and I hate myself for saying this, I liked Jennifer Lawrence's portrayal of Mystique in this film. I really did. Some people have mentioned that she was basically playing the same role from Hunger Games, and I think that's a valid complaint. But I still think she did a good job of it, so I don't really consider that a negative for me. She played someone who had been a bad guy, and who then had been a good guy, and then had kind of straddled the lines, and cared about mutants, but wasn't really a human hater like Magneto or Apocalypse, for that matter. And and she plays someone. Yes, Quicksilver was still Magneto's son. He mentions that flat out. And there's this there's several scenes where it's clear that she has no idea what she's doing. Like, people are looking up to her as if she's some great hero, as if she's a leader, and she isn't. I mean, she's a great fighter, she's a great agent, but she's never actually been a person in a position of charisma or leadership or anything like that. And I really, really, really like how she portrayed that. Yeah, she also portrayed someone who's just kind of like tired of all this crap. So I'm so sorry, Fuke. Hey, Jijus. Lex Mix, if you're going to watch the Apocalypse movie, we're spoiling it all over the place, so this is your big warning here. Yeah, I was going to say that same thing too, Leander. She felt like Snake did in Metal Gear Solid 1. Which is funny, because there's another character I want to heap praise upon. Yes. Yes, little one. Fassbender is a good actor in general. I've been a big fan of Fassbender basically since the first time I saw him. And, oh my god, Fassbender nailed Magneto. there's just something wonderfully, horrifyingly chilling about how he was going to murder all of his coworkers because he wasn't going to do it out of sheer hatred. You could tell that it wasn't like he was going to enjoy it. He wasn't going to do it because it was what he desired most. There was just this sort of absolute resignation and this sort of absolute, this is apparently the path. Okay, I will go along with this. And it's all horrible and terrible and it's painful, but okay, we'll go ahead and do this. You know, the way he did that scene, you know, don't stop me from killing these men. And just, oh, and yeah, the concentration camp scene. Oh my god. Oh, I know that sound. Let me see the film.
What are you doing?
I'm talking to Grandma Deb, my dear. Oh, didn't mean to close it.
I
Hey,
didn't fall apart that quick.
no. You ready to keep watching?
Yeah.
There you go. Hold on to it tight. So for those of you not aware, he was taken back to Auschwitz, to the concentration camp, and that's where Apocalypse empowered him, and his power went to the level. And I knew that. See, so for those of you who have followed the comics, I know there's at least a couple of you out there. Magneto's power level in the comics, in some points, has reached very, very, very high levels. Just, yeah, there's one particular comic series which I really liked where he basically restores the entire magnetic field around the planet to save the entire planet, the whole world, all at the same time. And wow. And so when I see, so they established pretty early on that Apocalypse could empower people. And so I'm like, okay, and then I realize he's going to empower Magneto, and I'm just like, oh, crap. And then, yeah, the way they presented his powers with the actual magnetic field was awesome. The way he just absolutely devastated the entire camp as he's remembering all he went through and all the pain and torment. And the fact that Apocalypse was being that sort of horribly caring father figure for him. You know? I'm sorry I wasn't here for you. I am sorry that I didn't prevent them from taking your family from you. That was a damn good scene. I'd also like to say something that you guys are going to make fun of me for. So many years ago, and I mean many years ago, so it's like in the early 90s or mid 90s, I actually wrote a story about a mage, and the weird thing was, it was designed to be an examination of what happened when a completely normal guy gets supreme, very, very much significant power, and in so doing, he retains his normalcy, if that makes sense. He retains his complete normal presentation, and he's not walking around in some big cape or some big fancy comic book outfit. I actually did a sketch of it. I still have the sketch somewhere. And he walked around in just ordinary clothes, kind of lackluster, just no care taken for his appearance. He looked very rough and casual. And that was actually part of the presentation, was the idea that this completely ordinary, rough, normal-looking, down-to-earth guy was actually the most powerful person working around on the planet. I mentioned that because I know this sounds weird, but I was reminded of that when I was watching it, because the way he looked in his, just his plaid shirt with rough and barely shaven, just the rough, harsh look of that and the ordinary, down-to-earth look of that actually, in my opinion, looked better and looked like Magneto more than when he had the helmet on or when he had the cape on. Just my opinion on the matter. I felt like that was a amazing presentation of Magneto. I also want to say that the scene between Xavier and Magneto was extremely, extremely moving. The fact that he connects with them, and just the first thing is like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, Eric. Because that's the first thing that hits him. And of course, the two care about each other and have been friends for some time, even in this particular continuity, so that makes it a large amount of sense. And then that leads into the next scene, which, holy crap. But yeah, I have nothing but praise for Fassbender's performance of Magneto. Honestly, I feel like Fassbender might actually be the best Magneto I've seen, and I hate to say that because I am a colossal fan of Sir Ian McKellen, but wow. Now, I do have one negative to say about, probably not Bowman, in all honesty. I do have one negative thing to say about the Magneto thing. The before scenes with his wife and his daughter were too saccharine. It was too obviously set up. They should have had a loving wife, sure, but have them being arguing about something and show how, oh, there's this issue, and if you could just use your powers, we could just fix it. No, I can't use my powers. Don't you understand? Don't show it as this wonderfully golden lit, joyful, awesome thing. Don't do that.
Something good.
What is it?
It's baby shining.
Okay. Don't. They went too far with showing how idyllic his life was before the disaster, before the tragedy, and it was that made it too obvious, in my opinion. It was just like, oh, okay, that's terrible. That being said, I did feel the scene where his wife and daughter died was very powerful. Again, as I mentioned, both Sis and I were out bawling at that scene.
I'm watching the video now.
And I knew someone would bring that up, Brevin. I'll talk about that later. And I felt like the actual scene was perfect because it was a total accident. It was exactly what the X-Men story has always been about. That fear. That random just sort of... the fear making us do things we wouldn't otherwise do, the fear turning good people bad, and that whole prejudice and that whole oppression thing, that was the X-Men. That is the X-Men story. That's always been the X-Men story. And the fact that he saved a man's life, and they still reacted with fear, and they called the cops. The cops came out there, and they weren't, they're like, "Is this you? Are you this horrible person?" They're terrified of him. And despite the fact that they've known him for years at this point, and despite the fact that they've got his wife and child there, for God's sakes, and so there was no particularly malignant, malicious intent, because everyone involved was just terrified. And then,
What are you doing?
I am working, little one. And then the bow being let off by accident, and the shot, and just, oh my God! And the one thing I liked especially was the fact that the cops looked horrified about the fact that they had basically killed an innocent, even though they were being attacked by the birds and whatnot, and they were suitably afraid of that. They were still horrified to have killed him or killed her. I liked that shot of horror, and then then Magneto murders them. And then he takes the thing back, and it's so clear that it's not even rage he's feeling. It's just raw pain. Like, the very fact that he had to kill these people who he knew and were considered friends, and the fact that why he's killing them caused him pain more than anything, Very well done. So let's talk about the thing Revan brought up. I'm one of those weird people who doesn't really have a huge problem with, letting things go. But I know, for example, when we were going through the StarCraft lore one of the things that was brought up many, many times was, oh my God, how can we, we should put Kerrigan on trial for the billions she's killed. And I've seen this talked about in many, many different fictions, where someone does something bad and then they try to switch to the side of good. And sometimes I feel it's done well, and sometimes I feel it's done badly. And I knew people would bring it up in this case because even though Magneto did switch sides, even though Magneto did decide, where he actually should be and what he should actually do, there is no denying the fact that when he was initially reaching out to the entire planet and pulling at the magnetic core of the planet, he killed a lot of people while he was doing that. We actually see cars being lifted up into the air at the Golden Gate Bridge, just to name one example. And as I was seeing that scene, I'm thinking, there are people in those cars, Hello, Azura. And so that scene, so the fact that he just kind of got a pass on that, I admit is a little head-scratching. But at the same time, it does make perfect sense in character. Why? Because Xavier would forgive him for that. And Xavier could make anyone else forgive him for that. So there's not going to be any legal repercussions. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he literally did this to make sure that people forgot he existed after that. Yeah. This is also, yeah, I was going to say, as Tigzar mentioned, this is why there's that trope called redemption equals death. The idea that a character who has done something simply too terrible, when they redeem themselves, they have to die. Because the idea... Okay. The idea that they have to...
Uncle Magus, I'm watching something good.
What is it, though?
I'm a kitty watching it.
Come here. Come here, baby girl. Let me see. Okay. That's as good. Thank you for showing me.
It's a little good.
She's been getting big into healing lately. By which I mean, like, the idea of being a doctor and whatnot. Like, she has this giant plush octopus, and she's like, okay, I'm going to operate on you to take all the pain away. It's really cute. So, I have to admit, it did feel a little bit pat that we, the audience, are supposed to simply forgive Magneto for the thousands, if not more, that he killed. I will have to say, though, that I have I fully understand that his murder of the cops, I gotta be 100% honest, in that exact moment, if something were to happen to the beautiful little girl sitting about 5 feet to the right of me, like that, I probably would kill them too, with my bare hands if I had to. I understand. And I hate myself for admitting that, but it's true. I literally can't even push past my mental block that thought. I can't think about it. So, don't really blame him for the cops. Absolutely do not blame him for the workers, too. The fact that they ratted him out of fear, and that directly causing those deaths, yeah, no, kill the crap out of him. There was also this wonderful thing when Magneto walks into the steel mill, or the iron mill, and several people in the audience, including my sister who was sitting next to me, actually were like, oh god, no, because Magneto just walked into an iron mill. You know? It's okay, he didn't have to kill them. Apocalypse thought of them as insects. Or less. See you around, Samurai. Other thoughts. I actually have a lot of thoughts about this movie, forgive me. I'm trying to organize them. I haven't talked about my favorite character in the film yet.
I'm watching another good video of Candy.
Okay. And that would be... So my favorite character in this one is Nightcrawler. He was so absolutely perfect. The actor they got for the job was fantastic. He was perfectly awkward. He was perfect. Yeah, me too, Warwood. He was perfectly awkward. He was perfectly hesitant. He was him. He was exactly who he should have been. And I really, 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 really liked the way they portrayed Nightcrawler. And his agility and his power and everything. Obviously, we've already seen Nightcrawler portrayed correctly. They did it perfectly back in X-Men 2 as well. But still, I have to give the kid they got for this absolutely huge props. He did a really, really good job of it. Unfortunately, I actually don't have much else to say about him as a character. It just was perfectly Nightcrawler. You know, everything about him. The fish out of water thing, as Leander points out. The not really being able to function normally with other people, but desperately wanting to. There's this great scene where Scott is sitting there, is like, hey, we got to check out a mall or something, and Nightcrawler's like, what's a mall? And Scott's like, okay, no, this is a part of national pride now. We got to go check out a mall. And they're like, no, we can't do it. And Nightcrawler's like, I would like to see this mall. You know, no idea what a mall is still. Nobody's explained it to him. But he's just like, I want to be part of this. I want to be involved in this, please. You know, loved it. Speaking of which, I guess I haven't talked about Scott Summers yet in any length or detail. I like the fact that he was basically a troublemaker, and I like the fact that his brother's death actually helps to galvanize him into manning up, basically. And that makes a lot of sense to me, and I really enjoyed that presentation. I felt like the kid that got to play him did a good job of that. I I also like how there's a couple cute little things in the movie which I really enjoyed. Like, for example, well, the third movie is always the bad one.
You know what, Uncle Magus?
What little one?
I'm watching Puppy Grow Their Hair.
Okay,
And this is a good video too.
I believe you, little one. Yes, Xavier in the comics is a villain. I actually agree with that sentence completely. Um, that's yeah, no argument there. But then again, Tony Stark in the comics is a villain too. Um, Gosh, what else is there? So I haven't talked about the elephant in the room yet. Phoenix. So for those of you, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about Phoenix. Have a good night, Fugue. Oh, so have a good day. I don't sleep, dude. Sleep. Get some sleep, man. I enjoy how they pulled Phoenix into this. It's not what I wanted. It's not what I was expecting to happen. What I was expecting was that the two people who are best, who were the best positioned to defeat Magneto. I mean, let's be honest. X-Men has, in many, many ways, always been the story of Charles and Eric. And the idea that the two would be able to defeat him, one in his mind and one outside, actually really appealed to me. After all, Magneto's the one who defeated Apocalypse in Age of Apocalypse, if you remember, the old one. He had to go full tilt for it, and he basically died immediately thereafter, but still. But, so that's what I was expecting, and that's what I was wanting. But Phoenix bringing him down also kind of worked for me. Especially since, A, it helps to introduce Phoenix. B, rather than having it do the things they did in the previous film series with Phoenix, which we're not even talking about. And also, let's be 100% honest, the actual Phoenix series comics had some very weird silliness to it, which we've already kind of skipped over a decent chunk of that. So, bottom line, now they have opened the door on Phoenix, and they can do something with that in the future if they choose to. And yeah, the fact that Apocalypse, like I said, his acceptance of finally finding another mutant that was either his equal or his better, that was perfect. The way he just, yes, absolutely, loved that. And the fact that it took Phoenix to bring Apocalypse down, I also find appropriate because it's freaking Apocalypse. I feel like this might be one of the only thing that Bowman and I agree on this movie is the fact that, if you're going to bring Apocalypse down, you have to bring the heaviest of the heavies to do that, because it's freaking Apocalypse. I also like how they never called him Apocalypse in the entire film. They tossed the word around a couple of times, but he was always called En Sabah Nur, which was a nice touch. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of falling asleep as I sit here. What else? I'm just replaying the movie in my head here. Yes, Phoenix is in the. You think Phoenix is so? For those of you who've seen this film, you might be like, "Oh man, Phoenix was super powerful." No, trust me, Phoenix is way stronger in the comics. Phoenix is the Star Eater in the comics. I mean that literally, as in nom 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 stars power. That's Phoenix in the comics. Yeah. So I talked about Quicksilver. I do like the fact that if you follow the path between the three movies so far, first of all, a lot of the character arcs feel cohesive between First Class, Days of Future Past, and this one, which is funny because it was unintentional. These weren't created to be one big trilogy from the beginning. Instead, they just kind of kept going naturally with the narrative, so that was a nice touch. But most especially the fact that, if I could say something very idealistic and silly, Hope was pushed forward by Xavier in the first film, and then Hope was given to other characters, like, for example, Mystique in the second film, and then Hope was given by Mystique to Magneto in the third film. And I really, really like that sort of progression as they try to reach out to these characters with just simple acceptance and familial friendship. The speech that Mystique gave, that Raven, let's just call it what it is, gave to Magneto was actually really nice. Yeah, I like that. I like that she didn't try to beat him or be like, "You're better than this." She was just like, "We're your family, okay?" and you've lost some of your family, and this is the first time you'll have the power to defend your family. That was awesome. Because it's true. When he was a kid, he did not have the power to defend his mother. She died because he couldn't exert his power. When he was there in the woods, he didn't have the power to save his wife and child. But for the first time, he had all that power unleashed, and he had the ability to use it to defend his family. God's sakes, Eric, use the power to do what you want to do, you know? And it goes back to that idea that while Eric Lensher is not a good man, he is not a particularly horribly evil man either, I would say. He is not sadistic. He is not cruel. He is not malicious. He is not someone who's like, ah, at least not in this presentation of him. Oh, Gina, can you bring me the phone, please?
Get me.
You can do it. Hold on to it tightly. Don't drop it. Thank you, little one. That was Mama messaging me.
I want to see you see bouncing hot tip to her again.
I'll answer her that in a bit. Do you want to say hi to her again?
Hi, Mom.
Hang on. All right.
Hi, Mama.
Say it.
Bouncing hot dog, Mama.
Okay, that didn't pick it at all. Okay. We'll go back to this for now. Here you go. You can go sit down again. Thank you, Jana. So, now, actually, Revan, you mentioned something that I actually was thinking about, too. The idea that Apocalypse might have actually been able to stand one-on-one against this version of Phoenix if he'd been going full tilt against her, and I actually agree with that. Atomic restructuring is one of his main powers. I mean, God's sakes. But yeah, he was fighting Xavier, he was fighting Magneto, he was being blasted by Cyclops, he was being hit by Storm. Yeah. The lack of Cable, I don't understand that complaint. Let's be honest with ourselves, you can't have every mutant in a movie. So they would have to have either gotten rid of someone or had the movie be even more crowded to have Cable in. While Cable has something to do with Apocalypse, I think Cable is far, far more attached to another character, and I think that Cable should be involved in that character instead. And, spoiler alert, we know for a fact that he is going to be, because they've already announced it. They've already said, yes, the next Deadpool movie will involve Cable as well. So, I can't even begin to list that as a complaint. I don't know why people are complaining about that. The Herald of Franklin Richards. Let's not talk about Franklin Richards. Let's just not. I've discussed Mary Sue's in the past. I've gone out of my way not to bring him up because I don't want him to get more screen time. I mentioned how there is a bit of a negative to this film with regards to the way several characters just kind of were there and then gone. Like Psylocke had a few scenes where she was pretty awesome, but that's it. Storm, I really, really liked what they did initially with her. And the fact that she would join Apocalypse makes perfect sense. Because as you saw right at the beginning, her power was pathetic. She could barely make a few gusts of wind. And she was using it to steal, just petty theft. And then, being uplifted from that to Storm, who is damned strong. It was a fairly high tier. Yeah, I felt like that was a good presentation. I already mentioned Angel and Magneto, so I guess I don't have anything else. The old Horsemen, the ones, War, Strife, and all that pack in the old thing. Okay, that was a little brief, but I still feel like it had to be brief. That was all about establishing Apocalypse. One thing I really liked, though, was it showed simultaneously the revolution and the hatred of and the devotion for Apocalypse from the revolutionaries and from his own followers. And that makes perfect sense that, again, to use Storm as a parallel, someone who has lived a terrible, disgusting life. Angel's another great example. Someone who has been abused, someone who's been hated, someone who has been looked down upon, someone who has been spit upon for what they are, suddenly being uplifted to basically being, the upper echelons of the aristocracy of the world. You're going to have a lot of loyalty after that for whoever did that to you. And so I liked that devotion that the Four Horsemen showed to Apocalypse. Literally unto death, actually. Yes, so Jubilee, first of all, let me just say that I liked what they did with Jubilee. She looked like Jubilee, immediately recognized. Just, yep, that's her. And I know for a fact that there are several deleted scenes that contain more Jubilee. I'm not sure if they'll do anything more with her in the future. I suppose that's more up to a personal opinion or preference on whether you actually like her as a character or not. I will only say this, that she is much, much better than Dazzler. So, yeah, no kidding, no. Um, Interesting, Dakota. I'll have to look that up. If I ever play that game again. Uh, Trying to think what else. I know there's more I wanted to talk about in this film. The uh, One of the things I liked the idea of, and I don't know if this is true or not, is that Xavier was uplifted like the other mutants. Now, this is left a little bit up to interpretation. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this. So he obviously uplifted the other mutants. So Storm now has full Storm powers. Magneto is now super strong, etc. Um, Xavier may or may not have been uplifted as well. We know that he was acting as a conduit for Xavier to be able to reach the whole world simultaneously without Cerebro. But we don't know if he gave him that power innately. And I'm not sure which of those ideas I like better. But I do like that they left that just vague enough that it's up to us to decide that and, speculate on the future on what Xavier's going to be able to pull off in the future. So, shrug. Personally, I find the idea of Xavier with that level of power terrifying, but that's because I've read the comics. And as I've said before, Xavier in the comics is a villain, just like Tony Stark. And Steve Rogers, for the moment. I also have to admit I would be very amused to see Apocalypse try to uplift Phoenix. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Um, Trying to think what else. I know there's more I wanted to discuss. Oh, the nuke scene was perfect. The fact that he was connected to so many people at the same time, and he was, at first I thought he was going to nuke the planet, and I was actually kind of like, oh my god, because I actually thought they were going to do that, and if they did that, that'd be awesome. It would be a great setting changer. It would be a great way to really stir the pot, so to speak. But they didn't do that. Instead, they did something much, very, very, very in character for Apocalypse. Again, that whole disdain for tools in general, that whole just, ugh, you have to use these things to make yourself, try to uplift yourself, and the fact that he just kind of tossed the nukes up into space to be gotten rid of. Just, yep, be done with them. They're gone. No more need for that. That was absolutely amazing. He literally disarmed all the nukes in the entire planet because he floated them up into space. That was perfect. That was exactly the way this apocalypse was. But yeah, no, I'm with you, Leander. I actually thought he was going to nuke the planet and that the survivors would have to struggle in order to bring him down. And yeah, I agree, Revan. His hypocrisy is ever. It's great. It's a great part of his character. His hypocrisy was everywhere, and I love that presentation of it. I think I'm kind of out of things to talk about. I really wanted to talk about the nuke scene, as I just did, and I'm actually like trying to run through the film in my head. It was a long film. A lot of stuff happened, but I can't actually think of anything else off the top of my head. Um, I did like the tiny peek into the. So we see. I liked the post DC world that they presented in the film as a whole. We see that in some cases mutants have just become part of society. We see that in some cases mutants have become toys for people to use or abuse. We see that the Muggles have been trying to. That's what my sister and I call mundanes. We see that the Muggles have started to get used to using their technology to try and overcome mutants and try to figure out how they think. There's a lot of insights, both good and bad, into how the world works now that mutant kind is known and normal. And we never really saw that in the old X-Men movies. Like X-Men 1 was when mutants are just starting to become a thing in the last like 10 years, and they haven't really seen it. You're hilarious, Rory. We just finished talking about how Xavier is a terribly evil person in the comics. I don't think he is in the movies, but then again, I also think Tony Stark is a good guy in the movies. Uh, I like how, and in X-Men 2, obviously mutants were known, but it was more about the threat and what Stryker was doing. And then X-Men 3 was terrible and so forth. So I really like how this actually shows more of an everyday, this is life aspect to, well, thank you, little one. I will fix it for you. This is life now aspect to, this. Okay. It looks like you're going to be picked up soon, kiddo.
Why?
Because you're going to go with Mama. I've been watching you this morning, but soon you're going to see Mama again. Oh, you want to watch your video, don't you? I'm sorry, I keep doing that. It's such a habit, little one. Jaina, please don't destroy my mouse pad, okay? Please stop. Here you go.
You're gonna love it.
Take it back to your chair.
Start the show.
That's true. Oh, speaking of which, when I saw the Essex Corporation thing, I was just like, yes! Tell me someone else had that reaction. Tell me someone else saw that and was just like, yes! Awesome! Because, so, personally, Nathaniel Essex has always been one of the more fascinating characters in the X-Men comics. The one, I can't even remember the name of the comic, but the one where it's that the one woman who took his heart, despite her genetic profile, that was a great one. His cold fish personality. There's that one amazing comic where he actually manages to overpower Apocalypse. Just, oh my god. I shouldn't say overpower. He outsmarts him, is actually more accurate. Yeah, I was very happy about that tease. And we've basically confirmed that Essex, Sinister, will be in the next Wolverine movie, so... Oh, that was awesome, though, Leander. Take a break, everyone. I also loved the line where he tells Moira, oh, I have level 5 clearance. I loved that because either A, it's true, because he did work for the CIA, or B, it's true because he convinced someone to give them that, or C, he just mind-controlled her into thinking that, so he basically just has clearance because he's frickin' Charles Xavier. And yeah, I really loved the scene where he restored Moira's memory. Her reaction to that was spot on. His reaction to that was spot on. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Also, interesting explanation of how he got bald, by the way. Literally burning the hair out of his skull. So yeah, interesting answer on that one. That's also funny to me because Patrick Stewart isn't actually bald. He has a decent amount, or had, I should say, a decent amount of hair over there. But anyways, I'm still with it. And yeah, I hope they don't do Ultimate Sinister. But let's be honest with ourselves here. The movies have not really been adhering to the comics, and this is. I'm going to go ahead and close on this because I get her ready to get going. This is probably the most controversial thing I will say with regard to this movie. I feel this movie and several previous of the X-Men movies, most notably First Class, did not adhere to the comics, and I think that's one of their strengths. I have said for many, 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 many years that when you take another IP from another medium of entertainment, from another medium of presentation, like a book or a game or a comic, and you try to convert it to a movie, the biggest mistakes I've seen in those conversions, Jaina, you gonna sit down? Okay. The biggest mistakes I've seen in those movies, almost universally, has been they try too much to adhere to the original work, and it suffers for it because it doesn't translate one-to-one. If I can use a parallel, it's like translating from English to Japanese or vice versa. If you don't understand what I mean by that, English does not translate literally into Japanese, nor does Japanese translate literally into English. There's just too much additional to it. So a good translator will look at it, look at the context, look at the tone, look at the presentation, and say, okay, this is what was being conveyed, even if we can't literally one-to-one translate the sentence being said, right? That's how I've always felt about trying to convert something into movie form. And so it is, in my opinion, that the movies that take Yeah, exactly. You keep the core of the character, you keep the core of what's going on, and you interpret it into movie format. And I feel that is the way that things really work. Now, of course, again, I know a lot of people would absolutely hate me for that. In fact, I have a very big comic friend, other than you, Baronessa, who absolutely despised several aspects of the MCU because that wasn't Stark, because that wasn't Thor, because that wasn't Loki, etc., etc. And yeah, and I was in the exact opposite opinion of that. So I know, as Tigzar points out, you will piss off fans if you change them too much. That is absolutely true. But I think you shouldn't be afraid to change them at all. I think you shouldn't be afraid to try and shift the character arcs. And I will use an example from this movie right now, Mystique. The way Mystique was portrayed in this movie, I liked, as I mentioned earlier. I liked it a lot. But it's very different from previous portrayals and presentations of Mystique, isn't it? So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off the recording. I do apologize to my YouTube viewers that I have been watching after the little one while doing this. I know that irritates some of you. That is my niece. She's more important than my show. So I hope you can live with that. Regardless, I will go ahead and be talking to you guys who are still here very soon, as we're going to continue the Wild Lore run and finish up Frostfire and start doing Gorgrond. I might take a nap in the middle because I am absolutely exhausted. I'll see you later, guys.